There is a form of influence so terrifying, so dominant, that it requires absolutely no effort. In fact, the less you do, the stronger it becomes. Have you ever been in a room with someone who says nothing, while everyone else is laughing nervously, explaining themselves, and trying to prove their worth? This person sits in total silence. They don't look away. They don't fidget. They don't nod to make you feel comfortable. And yet, they are the loudest person in the room. You find yourself desperate for their approval. You find yourself over-explaining just to break the tension. You find yourself intimidated not by their aggression, but by their void. Most people believe that power comes from what you say. They think influence is about being the best debater, the funniest storyteller, or the loudest voice. They are wrong. In the high-stakes boardrooms of Tokyo, among the Yakuza syndicates, and within the ancient samurai courts, there existed a secret language, a way of communicating that bypassed the ears and struck directly at the gut. They called it Haragei. Literally translated, it means belly art. But what it really means is the art of communicating without words, the art of imposing your will through pure presence. Today, you will learn why your constant need to speak is destroying your status. You will learn why you feel the urge to fill the silence and how that urge makes you submissive. And you will discover the ancient protocol to stop talking, start projecting, and become the scariest person in the room. But be warned, this path requires you to kill the part of your ego that screams for attention. Before we enter the silence, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment below, "I am listening." This is your first step in moving from the noise to the signal. The story begins with a man named Arthur. Arthur was a 27-year-old project manager, and he was smart. He had the data, he had the strategy, he had the right answers. But Arthur had a fatal flaw. He leaked. He didn't leak water, he leaked power. Every time Arthur walked into a meeting, he felt an invisible pressure to prove he belonged there. If there was a pause in the conversation, Arthur filled it. If someone asked him a simple question, he gave a 3-paragraph answer, followed by a justification, followed by a nervous joke. He thought he was being helpful. He thought he was being communicative. But in reality, he was signaling deep, primal insecurity. There is a rule in behavioral psychology called the status-silence ratio. In any hierarchy, the person who speaks the most to fill the silence is usually the subordinate. The person who is comfortable with the silence is the dominant. Arthur was the subordinate even when he was in charge. The breaking point came during a salary negotiation. Arthur believed he deserved a 20% raise. He had prepared his speech. He sat down with his director, a man named Mr. Vance, who was known for being impossible to read. Arthur started talking. He listed his achievements. He showed his charts. He spoke for 5 minutes straight. Mr. Vance just looked at him. He didn't nod. He didn't smile. He just watched. The silence stretched for 3 seconds. To Arthur, it felt like 3 hours. Panic set in. Arthur's brain screamed, "He hates it. Say something. Fix it." So Arthur spoke again. I know 20% is high, so I'm willing to negotiate. Maybe 10% is more realistic given the budget. Mr. Vance hadn't said a word, and Arthur had just negotiated against himself. He had lowered his own value by 50%, simply because he couldn't handle the weight of silence. He walked out of that room defeated, not by his boss, but by his own mouth. He realized then that he was addicted to noise. He used words as a shield to protect himself from judgment. But that shield was actually suffocating him. Desperate to fix his lack of authority, Arthur didn't join a Toastmasters club. He knew the problem wasn't how to speak. The problem was why he couldn't stop. Through a connection, he sought out a kendo master in the city, an old Japanese man named Sensei Ogawa. Ogawa was terrifying. He stood 5 feet 5 inches, but he had the presence of a giant. On their first meeting, Arthur started his usual routine. "Sensei, I want to learn discipline. I have trouble with..." Ogawa raised one hand. He didn't say stop. He just held up the hand. Arthur shut up. They sat in the dojo for 10 minutes. Complete silence. Arthur started sweating. He looked at the floor. He looked at the wall. He fidgeted with his hands. His mind was racing. Is this a test? Is he mad? Should I leave? Finally, Ogawa spoke. His voice came from deep in his chest, not his throat. "You are noisy," Ogawa said. "Not just your mouth. Your eyes are noisy. Your hands are noisy. Your spirit is screaming like a frightened child." "I just want to explain," Arthur started. "Stop explaining," Ogawa snapped. "Explanation is the confession of weakness. You speak because you do not trust your existence. You think that if you stop making noise, you will disappear." Ogawa pointed to his own stomach, just below the navel. "In the West, you communicate from here," he pointed to the head. "Intellect, logic, noise. In the East, the samurai communicated from here." He slapped his belly. "The hara, the center. This is Haragei." "What is Haragei?" Arthur asked. "It is the art of the hidden blade," Ogawa said. "It is the ability to transfer your intention to another man without using the medium of words. When you speak, you give the other man a handle to grab you. You give him logic he can argue with. You give him emotions he can manipulate. When you use Haragei, you give him nothing but your will. And because he cannot see the weapon, he becomes afraid." Let's pause the story to understand why silence is so biologically terrifying to humans. Why did Arthur crumble in front of his boss? Why does the silent treatment hurt so much in relationships? It comes down to the brain's craving for certainty. The human brain is a prediction machine. When I talk to you, I am giving you data. My tone, my words, my excuses. They are data points that help your brain predict what I am going to do next. Data makes you feel safe. When I stop talking, I cut off the data stream. Your brain, specifically the amygdala, the threat detection center, goes into overdrive. Why is he silent? Is he angry? Is he judging me? Is he bored? Does he know something I don't? Silence creates a vacuum, and human nature abhors a vacuum. The person with lower status will instinctively rush to fill that vacuum with words. They will reveal their secrets, their insecurities, and their true positions, just to get the data stream flowing again. This is what Ogawa meant by giving him a handle. When you talk, you are solid. You can be attacked. When you are silent, you are liquid. You are a ghost. You cannot be hit, but you can suffocate the room. Haragei utilizes this biological mechanism. It is the deliberate withholding of information to force the opponent to project their own fears onto you. Arthur began his training. It wasn't physical training. It was the training of restraint. Sensei Ogawa taught him the 3 seals of Haragei. The first seal, the seal of the mouth, Chinmoku. For the next 7 days, Ogawa ordered, you will cut your words by 80%. If a sentence is not necessary for survival or work, do not say it. If someone asks you a question, answer in 3 words or less, then stop. Arthur tried this at work. It was physically painful. When a colleague asked, "How was your weekend?" Arthur usually gave a 5-minute story. This time he said, "It was restful." And then he looked at them. The colleague waited for more. Arthur gave nothing. The colleague looked confused, then nodded respectfully and walked away. Arthur felt a strange surge of energy. He hadn't leaked. He had retained his power. The second seal, the seal of the body, Fudoshin. Your body betrays you, Ogawa said. You nod too much. You smile to plead for safety. You check your phone to escape tension. The rule was simple. Absolute stillness. When listening, do not nod. Do not smile unless something is actually funny. Keep the head still. This was harder. Arthur realized he used nodding as a way to say, "Please like me." When he stopped, people started trying harder to impress him. The third seal, the seal of the eyes, ma. "This is the hardest," Ogawa warned. "In Japan, we value ma, the empty space, the pause. When you finish speaking, you must look the other man in the eye and sit in the ma." Arthur had to learn to maintain eye contact during the silence. Not an aggressive stare, but a soft, unblinking focus. To look at someone and be perfectly okay with the fact that nobody is talking. Week 3 of training, Arthur felt like he was going crazy. His brain was screaming for dopamine. He wanted to gossip. He wanted to complain. He wanted to tell people his opinions. He went to Ogawa. "Sensei, I feel like I'm disappearing. If I don't talk, people won't know I'm smart. They won't know I have value." Ogawa laughed, a dry, harsh laugh. "Does the mountain need to tell you it is heavy? Does the tiger need to tell you it is dangerous? Only the small dog barks, the lion watches." "You are afraid of the void," Ogawa continued. "You think that if you are silent, you are empty. But Haragei is not empty silence. It is pregnant silence. It is silence full of intention." He taught Arthur the final technique, the projection. When you are silent, do not check out. Do not think about your grocery list. You must focus your intent on your belly. You must visualize what you want the other person to do. You push your will out, not through words, but through the air. It sounds mystical. It isn't. It is micro-expression and body language. When you are intensely focused on an outcome but refuse to speak, your body broadcasts a signal of extreme confidence. Humans pick up on this subconsciously. They feel the weight of your expectation. 2 months later, Arthur faced the ultimate test. A vendor was trying to overcharge his company for a contract. It was a high-pressure meeting. The vendor, a loud, aggressive sales director, sat across the table. The old Arthur would have argued. He would have pulled out spreadsheets. He would have begged. The new Arthur sat down. He placed his hands on the table, perfectly still. He looked at the vendor. The vendor started his pitch. He talked fast. He used buzzwords. He tried to intimidate. Arthur listened. He didn't nod. He didn't smile. He kept his face like a stone mask. He breathed into his hara. When the vendor finished, he asked, "So, do we have a deal at $50,000? Arthur paused. 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds. He looked the vendor in the eye. The silence in the room grew heavy. The air conditioning sounded like a jet engine. Arthur didn't look away. He didn't panic. He rested in the void. The vendor shifted in his chair. He looked at his notes. The uncertainty was eating him alive. Why isn't he answering? Is the price too high? Is he insulted? 7 seconds of silence. The vendor broke. "I mean," the vendor stammered, "we could probably do $45,000 if we signed today." Arthur didn't blink. He stayed silent. He let the ma do the work. "Maybe $40,000, the vendor said, his voice cracking slightly. "But that's my limit." Arthur finally spoke. He used 3 words. "Send the contract." He stood up and walked out. He hadn't used logic. He hadn't used debate. He had used the vacuum of space to collapse the other man's reality. He had used Haragei. Arthur's life changed, but not in the way he expected. He didn't become the most popular guy in the office. He became the most respected. When he spoke, people stopped what they were doing to listen, because they knew he didn't waste words. If Arthur spoke, it mattered. His relationships changed. He stopped chasing women with endless text messages and nervous conversation. He learned to sit back, to listen, to let the attraction grow in the space between words. He discovered that mystery is the greatest aphrodisiac, and silence is the mother of mystery. People started describing him as intense or grounded. Some said he was intimidating. Good, because intimidating is just the word weak people use to describe someone who is in total control of themselves. You see, the scariest form of influence isn't fear. It isn't screaming. It isn't violence. The scariest form of influence is the realization that you do not need the other person. When you are silent, you signal that you are complete. You signal that you have no need for validation, and that independence is terrifying to a world that runs on codependency. Now, I have a challenge for you, and I will warn you, it will be one of the hardest things you have ever done. For the next 24 hours, I want you to practice Chinmoku, the silence. You are going to cut your words by 50%. Before you speak, ask yourself, is this necessary? Or am I just trying to alleviate my own anxiety? If you feel the urge to explain yourself, stop. If you feel the urge to fill an awkward silence, let it hang. Look people in the eye and let the silence burn. You will feel naked. You will feel the urge to leak. You will feel your ego screaming for attention. Let it scream, and then watch what happens to the people around you. Watch how they start to seek your approval. Watch how they start to reveal their truth. Watch how the dynamic of power shifts from the loud to the quiet. The world is full of noise. Everyone is talking. Everyone is posting. Everyone is desperate to be heard. Be the one who is silent. Be the black hole in the room, because the one who holds the silence holds the power. If this video gave you the strength to close your mouth and open your mind, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. And tell me in the comments, what is the one situation in your life where you talk too much? Is it with your boss, your partner, or your own internal monologue? Write it down and then let it go. Thank you for your attention. Be present, walk with honor, follow the path. See you in the next video.